Hey, how's it going? This is Xabulda here in the KV4. I called mine Fearless because this tank is so good. You can get right up into the faces of your enemy. As long as your armor is angled just right, every single shell that hits the side of this tank is going to bounce right off like nothing has ever happened to this thing. So this was one of my favorite tanks in World of Tanks, but I actually got enough experience to get to the ST1. And so I went ahead and bought me a KB5, so the KB5 is now going to be my KB4 because they pretty much have the same ideas behind the gameplay, but I just went ahead and moved on up to the ST1. Now this is Calmarin Assault. I spawned up in the northern spawn. There's a Chaffee that's just rushed out to get some fast, easy spots. This is one of my first times playing this map, this game type. So I just hang back and watch to see how the team is going to deploy. As long as your armor is angled just right on this thing, nothing will ever penetrate, especially at that range. These tanks just keep firing shot after shot at me. Only hitting my tracks to do some damage, but all the rest of the shots just bounce right off this thing. Now up in A9 there is a Pershing and an IS-3. The Pershing is going to make an appearance later on in the video, so just watch out for that one. But the IS-3 is pretty hauled down behind a T-43. I don't know if he really notices this, but nobody up in the northern spawn is able to do too much to him. So I just go back and forth waiting for an opportunity to arise. And right now the IS-3 is moving out of cover. I take aim on him, I fire, and then I try to anticipate his fire and turn my turret, but he actually lands a pretty good shot on my turret face. Once again, if you angle your turret just right, you will bounce shots off the side, off the cheeks of your turret. So you should always try to snap your turret to the side when somebody is aiming for your turret. But anyways, I do get tracked into place, but my crew gets the tracks repaired fairly quickly. And then I see a ARL pop up on the screen. I get the gun down, take a quick snapshot on him. Then I move back into a decent amount of cover. He tries to fire on me again, but see, at this range he's not really able to do too much. I do a blind shot and actually hitting him. But there he is once again, and a teammate takes him out. Good shot, T-28 Proto. So I'm just starting to do some blind firing over towards the IS-3. And that Pershing is still over there. He's just trying to hold the situation, I guess. I do take a shot from artillery, taking out my radio man. The radio man isn't too important on the big Russian tanks, because you already need a pretty decent amount of cooperation when you're dealing with the Russian tanks, because they don't have good view range and they don't really have good radios. So you should always try to stick close and use your team to your advantage. I use a carcass here for some cover while I take some extra shots in on this IS-3, but to no avail. At this point I'm thinking it's now or never. We have to push on this or we're just going to lose. So I'm getting into position to just rush the northern bridge. And the way I do this is I don't want to go straight for my objective, because one, it's pretty easy to anticipate, especially if I get detected and then I fall off radar. I'll be a pretty easy target. But more importantly, you always want to keep your armor angled in a way so if somebody does get shots on you, they're just going to bounce off. So right here, I don't really have too much support coming up behind me, so I'm just going to go rushing for it. I do get detected either by the Chiri or the Pershing that's up at the northern bridge. And there's the Pershing. Come around the Allied leopard carcass. Somebody takes a pretty good shot in on that Pershing. I put a pretty heavy shot right into the IS-3's frontal armor. Waiting for reload, all I have shot on is his turret. Somebody else takes the shot and takes the kill. I do get tracked once again, but I'm mostly in cover, so I let my crew prepare. Then I start angling my armor towards the T-69. He is retreating, well at least it looked like he was retreating. So I go ahead and turn my attention back to the Pershing, who is just sitting there like a fish out of water. So I go ahead and try to stay into a bit of low ground here. Artillery pops up on the radar. I do get a shot in on my turret front, and I get the gun down, fire at the artillery, but I miss. So then I start turning my attention for the Pershing. T-28 prototype takes out the artillery, and then right here is where the armor really comes into use with the KV-4. I shoot him and then I ram him. That is over 100-ton tank, just colliding with a pretty heavy medium, but he's not even over 45 tons. So I caused some massive damage there. Only 2 tanks left on the enemy team. They're actually over toward their spawn point. They didn't really advance out at all. But I'm going to try to get close as I can. I do see the Ferdy. He's over behind the buildings next to their base. I don't have a shot in on him. The Chiri is in a more optimum position, but he's not going to get he's not going to peek the top of that hill. So I go ahead and advance and try to get behind the T-28 prototype. He's trying to push straight into the Ferdy. So if I can get behind him, then it's going to be a pretty decent attack on the Ferdy. While the KV-4 is a pretty fast tank, it's not going to get too much good ground resistance going across a wet ground, sludge. So I'm pretty much just going as fast as the T-28 here. So instead of going for the Chiri, I go straight for the Ferdy. The T-28 is actually turning his flank straight over to the Ferdy, but I get in position, try to fire on the Ferdy. He misses his shot. I'm in a good side scraping position here. If he comes back around the corner, I'll be able to bounce his shot. But I back off, get my gun down, start aiming for his lower glacis, and bounce right off of his belt line. Then I get back into a side scraping position because he is turning to fire on me. And the J Panther 2 takes the kill. And that was the game on Comarin. I put in a little bit less than 1200 damage and taking away a steel wall on this battle. And finally, I give you my last game in the KV-4, which was on Lakeville Standard Battle. This was not the best game that I've ever played in the KV-4, but it actually gave me enough XP to go ahead and sell this wonderful tank off. Anyways, as the game starts off, a few tanks goes for the valley, and a few tanks go for the middle, and a few tanks go for the village. Pretty decent takeoff. 2 KV-5s, they're in platoon. I've had to check there, make sure that there was platooned. Are going straight up the middle road. Which, being high tier, that is a really viable strategy. We do get at least 4 tanks spotted over in the valley. Our light tank backs off after spotting them, and so I'm slowly but surely making my way to the village. And right here I do get spotted by a light tank on the middle road. Our light tank on the middle road is about to spot those guys out. I take a little stop here right whenever I fall off radar, because if they were paying attention, they would try to shoot blindly at me, and if I would have kept going, I probably would have got hit. So I take aim on the FCM but I don't have too much to shoot at, so I go ahead and advance on down the road, trying to take another shot, but yet again there's not much to really shoot at. Right here I'm just hoping that if I do shoot, I'm going to get one of those miraculous shots where Stalin just guides my shell straight for the target. But anyways, I move on down the road. Right here, once again, I do get detected. As I'm cruising down the road, I stop shy of the building break to fall off radar. Except this one right here, they actually seen me stop, so there wasn't really much to do. I do get detected halfway across the street, but I made it across, so anybody who was trying to shoot at me, they wouldn't have a decent shot. So right here, our AMX is just flying up through the lake, and he actually gets taken down. So I'm in a pretty decent position to get side shots in on the FCM. My first shot hits him right in the turret ring. I do get blind shot by a tank destroyer. I think it's a T-25/2. He keeps trying to shoot at me. His gun must be damaged or something, as he wasn't able to hit me with the second shot. So right there he is, the T-25/2. I take aim on the T-25 and hit him in the lower glacis. At that range, that was pretty amazing. I take aim back on the T-25/2 because the other two tanks fall off, or go out of range, and I take the kill on the T-25/2. Now at this point, one KV-5 has made it all the way to the enemy base. He is going across the base, whereas the other KV-5 is stuck on the middle road. He kind of hesitated to continue on the road, so I start putting side shots in on the Super Pershing here. One shot hits him right in the side. My next shot hits him right almost in the identical spot. Now the reason I'm not going for like turret shots to get ammo racks or engine deck to get a fire is because the accuracy on this gun is not too impressive. So I'm going straight for center mass shots to actually make sure I do get some damage to put in on this thing. Right here, I'm thinking that I'm able to get a shot in. He might be behind a wall, but apparently he's behind a building because I don't get the kill. But anyways, that's one less tank to deal with. The rest of the tanks are over in Death Valley, which they should be taken care of right about now. I go ahead and advance on the last tank destroyer on this side. Medium tank is advancing as well from J9. So right here, I see him trying to advance on the medium tank, so I stop, take aim, and shoot him, tracking him right into place. And from nowhere, an IS all the way back at D7 ends the game with an amazing shot. But anyways, this was the game on Lakeville. I got second in damage, but that was pretty much all I did to get my IS-1.